Hi, good morning. Welcome to a session of Canvas Live. Canvas Live sessions are presented by Canvas community members or instructor employees to help Canvas users improve and enhance their teaching and learning with Canvas. Welcome this morning. Today we will be talking about, it's the second session in our Office 365 LTI series, your new course ribbon. So today we'll talk about your course content, where to organize it, how to organize it, and how it works with and without the LTI. My name is Birai. I'm a community manager here at Instructure, and with me is Nick Demas. He's also a trainer here as well. Good morning, Nick. Today I'm going to talk a little bit, I'll start the session by sort of framing, again, what the LTI does, what the benefit of it is, and even though a lot of the things you can do with Microsoft Office 360 without the LTI, we're going to show you kind of some compare and contrast things that you can and can't do with the LTI installed. Basically, what is the LTI? It allows users to leverage more Microsoft tools and functionalities within Canvas, and it helps with less toggling between the two platforms. And of course, it automates some of the permissioning as well. How do you install the LTI? I'll do a quick demo so that we are all on the same page. Basically, you'll add it through EduApps. You'll configure the LTI in your course, and then you'll authorize access. And then from that point on, you should be good. So here I am in my course in Canvas. If you go into the course settings and click on the Apps tab, you should be able to do a search for Microsoft and the app will show up and you can install it there. Once you install it, you'll be prompted with a consumer key and a shared secret. And so in order to fill that information, you'll have to go over to a different web page. eduapps.org, eduappcenter.org or com. And there you would do a search for Office 365, and you will see that in that page there's a little bit of a hyperlink there at the bottom under installation instructions. You would click on that link and then generate a generate a key and a secret. Then you would copy and paste those into the app installation in your Canvas course, and then you'd be good to go. And then, of course, when you launch Office 365 within your course at any time, you will be having to authorize, so that once you do that, you should be fine in accessing your files in Drive. So today, what I'm going to show you is how to leverage files that are in your Microsoft Drive and how to use that and embed it or inline it into your course using the rich content editor, and how to add it to modules, how to add different files and course content into your modules. I will demonstrate how you do this without the LTI, and then I'll turn it over to Nick, who will do the similar things and demonstrate the same sort of concepts with the LTI involved. So at least that gives you that'll give you kind of a side-by-side look at some of the advantages and limitations of the LTI. So let's take a look at files. You can't add files from your Microsoft Office Drive directly into files in Canvas. So effectively, if you really needed to continue to leverage the files area in your Canvas course, then you'd have to download the file from your OneDrive and then upload it into files in the Canvas course. And then by doing so, you would then have access to that file under the Files tab here in the course content importer, and then you'd continue being able to leverage that from there. And you could have permissioning and set the lock and access dates and things like that, the things that you have access to when you have your documents and files in the File tab. Another way that you can link to the files in your OneDrive is you can go to the OneDrive itself, get the shared link from that file, and then come here and add a link like you would in any page where you have access to the rich content editor. You could just type in the name of the worksheet or sample document, and then hyperlink it to that file in OneDrive. So this would be the manual way of doing it. You could also embed content from OneDrive. So you would go again to your OneDrive, you would you would click into the document itself, and then under the drop-down menu, you would grab the embed code, come here with the embed code, and then in your course, in Canvas, wherever you see the rich content editor, you would go to HTML format, paste the embed code, and hit publish. So there are ways you can embed your content from OneDrive. Same thing with modules. When you want to add a content in a module, you could, if you have already uploaded that document into files, you can go through and just add a file to your module. Or if you haven't done that process and you prefer, you can always just add an external URL and then type in the shared URL there, and then it will show up as a link. So here in the module, you'll see a sample URL. So that's linking to my document in OneDrive. And the one below it is a link to the file. So I've already uploaded that document into my files area and basically pulled it out of OneDrive. So effectively, I'm not really leveraging Microsoft Office at that point. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and he's going to show you similar things of how to insert links into different areas and content areas in your course, and how that would look like if you had installed the Microsoft 365 LTI. Nick?
Thanks, Mirai, and good morning, everybody. All right, let's jump into this right away. I'm going to go into my course, the course that I'm just calling Office 365, so I know what I'm doing here. I'm going to jump in and just start adding some pieces from Office 365 to a content page. So what I'm going to do here is kind of treat this like a table of contents where I'm going to be adding multiple documents. Maybe use this as a reference point for materials that I'm going to have my students have at the beginning of a module, or maybe as a background module that I keep open to go back to all the material that I might have in a course. So in order to do so, I am going to jump into my app, and I'm accessing this through one of my external tools, or through my app space in the rich content editor. And there is my Office 365 component. So I'm going to pull into this component. I've gone ahead and I've authorized this ahead of time for my account. I noticed that there was a question about the authorization, and it seems like every couple of days I have to go back through and reauthorize when I go through it. All right, so what I'm going to be doing here, though, is I'm going to be pulling from some files that I've placed, stuff that I could also access through the course navigation menu, or at least take a look at in the course navigation menu. And I'm going to bring in these files so that, again, students can refer to them. Now, unfortunately, I can only do this one at a time, but fortunately, when I do so, I can edit some of the names so that I have pieces that look just a little bit better as I bring them in. Now, the process I'm going through is to bring in more than one, and so you might be doing this throughout the course if you want to have these items come in at one at a time. Maybe if you are just having some reference material for students to approach. Maybe you've brought over some information out of a journal that you want to share with students, a scholarly publication. Maybe you just want to show off your old master's thesis or dissertation or bachelor coursework so that the students can know that you've actually paid your dues in education, just like they are right now. So you see, I'm bringing this stuff, while I'm talking, I'm bringing these files in. And right now what this is giving me is, again, some information that can be used in lieu of a table of contents. Here are pieces of sheet music that I want to share with my students throughout the week or year, or as a background file, background module to use to keep all this information in the background. Now, if I select these options, it will open in a new window. It will launch the LTI, and I'll be able to see the sheet music that I've placed in a new area as it is redirecting me to Microsoft. Now that does have some benefits, and we'll take a look at those benefits. Well, let's take a look at them right now. I've set this up. I went through the same practice by setting up an announcement that works this way too. And if I go into this announcement, my announcement here, my idea behind this announcement was pretend that I'm in a music class, and I like Irish music. And so, you know, I thought it'd be pretty cool if you were to pair the music that you want students to learn. Here is me launching that tune using the link that I'd previously placed in the LTI, or within the announcement, so that launches in the LTI. It's redirecting, and there is the tune, The Bucks of Oranmore. Now, what I can do is I can go in. I found this piece on YouTube being played by one of my favorite musicians, Matt Malloy. And here he is. I'm going to unplug just for a second so we can pull sound. So this gives me the ability to listen to the music and read along with music. And I could actually listen to that one all day long. And so, again, I'm thinking about this at the beginning of a week. Here are some different pieces that I'm going to add to, you know, give my students something to focus on, maybe approach class a little bit differently. Here's my announcement. Here's the music we are going to be learning. Here's the documentation, and so on. And it really doesn't have to be music. We can use it across different disciplines. I also applied a similar idea by going through my calendar and setting up an event that I called Tunes of the Week. If I jump into this event, take a look at it, I can also access the different tunes that I want students to learn for the week. This is going to be part of the course practices that I have set in place. And again, it doesn't just have to be music. It can be your newsletter in the classroom. It can be, you know, multiple items that you are bringing out for the students. It just so happened that I wanted to go with music this week. Now, the last thing I want to jump into before we move back into the general discussion is I want to go and show you what it looks like to add a 365 document as part of your module. I'm going to go to my Plus module, and I'm going to add 365 as an external tool. I'm doing this way because I actually really like how this has turned out for me as I've gone through and done this. So I'm just selecting Office 365 as that external tool. It's going to spin up. And as it does so, I can go through, I can grab the document that I want to work from. And I can place that document in the module. I could change the document name or page name if I wanted to, go through some of that editing process, and I could opt to load in the new tab, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to, and I'll show you why. Let me add this item. And then I'll jump in and take a look at it as an external tool. There you go. So where you're not able to embed currently without going through the old process, you're not able to select a button that will allow you to embed documents into the rich content editor. The workaround for that is going to be by using the external tool. As you know, you can see on my screen that I selected the external tool option, and there's that document that I've placed. I think it looks pretty sharp to have this document in place right there in Canvas. And that's been, again, kind of a handy way to have that information and impart that information. Overall, I'd have to say that I'm a big fan of the way embedded documents look, and I would say that this is no exception. This is just the sheet music that I've applied, and I think it, again, I do think it does look sharp. All right, so those were 3 different ways that we are approaching, or can approach, or excuse me, 4 different ways that we can approach using Office 365 in the classroom. Again, we looked at a content page. Let's go to modules instead. We looked at setting them up in a content page within modules. We've added it and by default embedded it through the external tool within a module. We did it through an announcement where we've paired it with some, in that case, we paired the pieces of sheet music that I brought in as 365 documents. So we paired that with the actual music that's being played. And then we place it in the calendar so that there's the reminder to the students who are part of the class that they can access those documents that are relevant to the course. All right, so just a couple of LTI tips that we can think about. You know, if you install it in your instance, and this kind of ties into some of the conversation that is played out in the YouTube stream. If you are installing it in your instance, you know, I would encourage you to have it installed at the institution level so that everybody has access to it, so that there's kind of a universal marker for Office 365 to be used at your institution. And that means, though, that you should probably delete it at the course level, delete Office 365 at the course level so that you're not looking at the duplicates. You can consider hiding Office 365 from the navigation menu if you don't want that there, if you don't want students to see on their end of things what's going on with the 365 menu. And we talked about this, I would definitely consider using Office 365 as an external tool. Use that as an external tool because it embeds it directly into Canvas. I think it's one of the better looking pieces that you are adding as an external tool compared to some of the other features where you end up oftentimes having to link or pop out to a new window. And then, you know, I say this about everything in Canvas. Be consistent in your naming conventions, even when you're building cloud assignments using 365 documents, when you are building your modules, when you're building announcements, just use naming conventions, again, consistent and that are predictable and easy to follow if you are a student. All right.
Thanks, Nick.
You are welcome.
So we do have 2 more sessions in the series. So we have a Canvas Live presentation, not this next Friday, but the Friday after on assignments. So we'll really dive deep into how the LTI tool works in creating assignments, cloud assignments, and what that back end looks like from SpeedGrader. And then we'll also look at the collaborations tool with the 365 and the OneNote and how that plays into this LTI as well. So keep that in mind. Feel free to RSVP for those. You can skip forward to the next one. And then just so you know, we always welcome your feedback and we would love to hear from you. We want you to make sure that you never miss out on a Canvas Live session. So visit us on live.canvaslms.com and follow the space so that you can be notified of upcoming events every time we post something on the calendar. We do have a Canvas Live user group. So if you are interested in helping us with the demo regarding the OneNote, feel free to give us ping us, contact us directly, or join the Canvas Live user group. That's where we usually announce things like, hey, we're looking for a team of people to help us demo this, or we're putting together a panel discussion on this topic. Are you interested? So feel free to reach us out there. And then we also have our Canvas chat rooms. So if you're interested in chatting in real time with other Canvas users as they're going through their processes with Microsoft or anything in Canvas, we have a good active community in there for real-time chat. And that's all we have. Let's take a look at the questions. Melanie asks, since I'm pretty new to Office 365, I think you should probably, and I think we may have covered this, I don't know, but to be 100% using the LTI means you don't need to set permissions within Office 360. Nick, do you have anything to say to that?
I'd say the answer for me right now is a work in progress. I'm still working through the different permissions on 365. I've noticed if I've used embed, so kind of the old method, then I had to use some, make sure that people were signing on or had it activated in the account as was related to mine, or even have different permissions. But I've noticed as I've used the 365 LTI that the people who, as long as they've signed in using their Office 365 credentials, they've been able to access the material that I've placed. And so the answer to me, the best answer I can give you is I'm still working it out myself and trying to see what some of the quirks are in this, or if there are indeed quirks, or if it's just me and my own problems. But I'd say that right now, if you just use the LTI as we've mentioned, or some of the ways that we mentioned today, then I think you should be okay with some of the permissions. Again, making sure that your students are signing in order to see the class materials, and they'll be prompted to do so.
Yes, that's sort of my take as well, Melanie. I think the idea here is that if your school is a Microsoft school, everyone will by default have a Microsoft account. So by installing the LTI, it'll just prompt the user to sign in if they haven't accessed it already. And then from that point on, the permissioning is sort of like shared. You can view if you are, you should be able to view. If the other alternative was if your students do not have a Microsoft ID or an account, then you do have to make sure that it's the permissioning is such that it can be visible to anyone. So I think it's similar to that. That was my understanding. So great. Are there any other questions? Yes. Okay, well, if there are any additional questions, feel free to go to the event page and reach out to us there. You can always contact us directly. Nick and I are both in the community, and you can ping us there. This recording will be available within 5 minutes of this chat, of this session, so you can have a copy of this recording as soon as possible. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Nick, for being here and giving us a demo. We hope to see you in the next session of Canvas Live, if not the next Microsoft session. Have a great day, everybody.